This is a warning. This is a clop fiction, which means there might be some stuff in here you probably don't want to hear, and you probably will dislike. So, unless you're into that kind of stuff, or want to listen to that kind of stuff, then do so. If not, run away. Run. I warned you. I warned you. Hello guys. Chromosome Excel here. About to read a fanfic called Dicks Everywhere. Isn't that just a great name for a fanfic? Well, let's just start this, shall we? Twilight Sparkle, by nature, isn't a very suspicious pony. She always been genuinely surprised when Pinkie Pie played a prank on her, but even she couldn't help but suspect something was up when she heard inexplicable noises coming from the treehouse's basement, gears turning, as well as a series of clicks. Spike wasn't home, so she went down to investigate herself, expecting yet another surprise party. Instead, she saw nothing. Looking around the room, it seemed exactly as she left it. That is to say, full of books. Pinkie Pie? She asked. Guess again, said another voice from behind her. Before she could turn around, Twilight felt a sharp pain in her flank and drifted out of consciousness. When she awoke, Twilight found herself tied up in her own basement. She tried to remove the bondage by versa telekinesis, but nothing happened. Her horn was covered in a magic draining oil. But maybe whoever had captured her wasn't here, and this was her chance to escape. Twilight began to wiggle to try to force herself across the floor to the door. Then perhaps she could get help. A hoof wrapped around her before she barely gotten halfway across the room. After being spun around to face her capturer, Twilight finally knew where it was that she recognized that voice from. It had been the great and powerful Trixie. Did you honestly think, Trixie asked, a look of smugness on her face, that you could hide from the great and powerful Trixie forever? Trixie, asked Twilight, more surprised than worried. What are you doing here? A hoof struck the purple pony in the mouth. Twilight, you are to address the great and powerful Trixie by her full title. Great and powerful Trixie, Twilight said, while grimacing in both pain and disgust. Why are you here? The great and powerful Trixie is here for a single reason. She requires that you service her. Twilight only stared at her capturer in confusion. Trixie responded by smiling and spreading her forelegs to reveal a massive and erect stallion cock. Twilight recoiled in shock. Trixie, what the hey? The cock-bearing pony didn't say anything. Instead, she simply pushed Twilight Sparkle flat onto her back and pressed her muzzle onto Twilight's plump lower lips. They taste, she said in between slurps, like candy. Despite how great and notorious Trixie's tongue was, Twilight still struggled. Maybe if she could get to a book, she could flip it open with her horn and then rub the oil off of her horn onto the pages. Then she could use her magic to get away from Trixie. Still, despite her mental resistance, her body was starting to betray her. Love syrup was puddling up in her slit, and she could tell from the expression on Trixie's face that she knew it too. Giving Twilight only a few more licks, Trixie then lifted her head away from Twilight's sex before guiding the tip of her phallus to the bond pony's honeypot. Witness the great and powerful cock of Trixie, Trixie proclaimed as she began to thrust into Twilight. No matter how much she wanted to escape, some bestial part of Twilight compelled her to push against Trixie, driving the great and powerful stallion cock deeper into her. Still, she knew she couldn't lose focus. She needed to get to a book and clean off her horn. Trixie gave her no respite and began to thrust even harder before a thoughtful look came onto her face. The great and powerful Trixie knows a way to make this much more fun for the both of us. Trixie's horn lit up and Twilight looked around to try to see what she'd done. There appeared beside them a gelatinous pink blob. As Trixie's horn continued to grow, a few rope-like extensions grew out of the amorphous blob and started towards the bucking ponies. I'm certain you see what the great and powerful Trixie is planning, was all Trixie had to chance to say before a slight pained look came onto her face. A pair of pink tentacles had slipped in between Trixie's moist lips, while a third invaded a secret confine of her anus. As soon as she recovered, she continued to speak. 3 for Trixie. You're a lucky pony, though. You get more. One slimy tentacle slipped into Twilight's sex. Trixie smiling as the moistureness cuddled her stallion cock. A second entered Twilight's anus. The pony closed one eye and grimacing as the tentacle pushed. A second tentacle then entered Twilight's vagina as well, stretching it to its limits. Just as the shock of penetration was fading from Twilight's face, one more slipped into her plot hole. I see what you did there. Not funny. By now, Twilight wasn't thinking clearly at all. Trixie's cock and the pair of tentacles were marauding her syrup holes. These words that this person thinking up is just amazing. Anyways, all 3 of them thrusting in and out, and the tentacles changing size and shape. 2 further tentacles caressed her plot from the inside, a feeling that she wasn't used to. Still, if she could get to a book. Trixie leaned down and pushed her tongue as deep into Twilight's mouth as it would go. A 8th tentacle wrapped around the back of the 2 ponies' heads, pushing Trixie's tongue in as deep that it nearly triggered Twilight's gag reflexes. She could feel an orgasm beginning to well up inside her. Trixie lit her horn up once again, and 4 more tentacles moved in to rub against the pony's nipples. Suddenly, the tentacles and Trixie all pushed deeper into her, and she cried out in orgasm as best she could while Trixie's tongue still in her. Not 10 seconds later did Trixie withdraw her tongue and groan in orgasm. Her magic dick flooded Twilight with its magical toothpaste of love. And then she sighed once, withdrawing all the tentacles, and rolled off of Twilight. Both ponies simply laid there for a while. Great and powerful Trixie, the great and powerful Trixie said to herself while lightly stroking her cock. You were great. Twilight apparently regained her senses before Trixie did, and saw the amorphous pink tentacle blob, then reverted to an amorphous pink tentacle-less blob. Gathering up her remaining strength, Twilight threw herself at it, and her horn sunk into it. The mana sinking oils coming off of her horn. Okay. Trixie, seeing what was happening, tried desperately to pull Twilight out of the tentacle beast, but it was too late. Twilight had already shed the ropes binding her, and then placing a bonding spell onto Trixie's horn. A brace appeared around the base of her horn, stopping Trixie from using her own magic again. Now panicking, the blue pony tried to run up the stairs before Twilight got revenge on her for what she just done. Twilight simply conjured up a length of wire for Trixie to trip on before levitating her over to her herself. Now, Trixie, what you've done wasn't very nice at all. Twilight, she begged. Trixie is sorry. Let her go. I think, Twilight said, you misunderstood me. I want a turn too. And with that, Twilight's horn began to glow. And with a flash of light, she grew she grew a horse cock even larger than Trixie's. Wrapping her front hooves around Trixie's back, Twilight began to force her tongue down into Trixie's mouth before ramming her own enchanted phallus into Trixie's moist sex. Trixie's cock began to grow erect once again under Twilight's weight, and Twilight's horn lit up, causing Trixie's erection to grow to an even larger size. When it nudged against the pony's chin, Twilight lifted her head up to make clearance for the huge dick. It stopped growing just above Trixie's mouth, and both ponies began licking the tip. Trixie shuddered in pleasure. Trixie lit her horn up yet again, conjuring a number of magical vibrators from the nether, stretched out by Trixie's tentacle monster. Twilight levitated 3 vibrators into her toothpaste-filled hole. And another 2 into her plot hole. Ha ha. Trixie's plot hole received the same treatment. What's going on here? 2 supernatural vibrators stretched her beyond her previous limits, causing her to recoil in pain, while the 3rd vibrator found its way into her love canyon, causing Twilight to squirm in pleasure as she massaged her nether side of her cock. Ugh. The sensations was too much for Twilight to bear. Her own cream de la cream shot out of her otherworldly pelvis, flooding Trixie's insides. With her first male orgasm came a mental tension that caused her to push all the vibrators in deep before starting to withdraw them. Twilight's Mama Juice and the vibrators brought Trixie to a second orgasm. She cried out as the cum-filled canyon pulsated around Twilight's cock, and as her own dong squirted love juice over her face and a few of Twilight's books laying on the ground. Twilight didn't even bother to withdraw her cock from Trixie, and instead lazily thrust in and out and licked Trixie's love juice off her face. Eventually, she simply rolled over onto her side. "That was fun," she said, exhausted. "Wanna come back Wednesday?" Trixie panted before responding. "Yeah," she said. The great and powerful Trixie might do that. With the two ponies laying beside each other silently, they could finally make out the curious sound of an owl masturbating. The end.